Because if you can do some very basic math, you will realize that you only need 5/1000ths of 1% to make $1 million. I'll say that again. There's 80 million beneficiaries. If you can capture 0.005 of the total market, that's 5/1000ths of 1%. Wow. You'll make $1 million. And not just once, you'll make $1 million every year. You can keep that 0.005% on the books. So for agents to bicker, like, I can't talk to them and share them, what I do for Facebook ads that works, because they'll steal my marketplace. There's 80 million people out there. You ain't getting all of them, and neither is he or her or him or the other person.
Hey, before we get into the podcast, really quick, I want to tell you a little bit more about Medicare Masterclass. Medicare Masterclass is a training platform specifically for agents who want to sell more Medicare. And it's built by a Medicare agent named Ashley Van Gundy, who consistently writes over 150 policies per month, even outside of AEP. So I'm going to say that again. Over 150 policies per month, even outside of AEP. And she doesn't run a massive team. She has a really great sales process, and her marketing is dialed in. So what does Medicare Masterclass include? Exactly how to do that and much more. So you have the 7-step talk path to show you exactly what to say. And then you'll also have lead generation mastery to show you how to dial in your marketing and have more leads than minutes in the day. So if you want to sell more Medicare, this is the best training available on the market. To enroll, go to MedicareMasterclass.com. Let's get back into the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Medicare Masterclass podcast. Today, we have a real treat for those watching. And when I say treat, this is special. I mean, we got this call booked over a month ago, maybe even 2 months ago, and I've been thinking about it for a while. So I'm excited. Today, we have a guest that has spoke at Medicare Con last year. He went on tour with 8% Nation, which is insane. And I was watching one of the videos, and Cody Askins called him the best networker that he's ever seen. So we got to hear about that. He's generated over $50 million annually in Medicare Supplement premium, and him and his wife are the founders of Avila Medicare Solutions. Welcome, Tony Merwin. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. That was a heck of an introduction. I appreciate that. So I'm always blessed with the opportunity to come and try to give back to the community that I feel like has always given me so much. So when I heard about what you guys were doing and the invite, so again, thank you for reaching out. That invite, I was definitely intrigued. So again, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Great. And you met Ashley right before we jumped on. I normally introduce me and Ashley first, but I got a little ahead of myself here. So Cool. So the first thing that we'll jump into here, if you can just give the people watching a quick background story on you, and then I want to hop into something that I think will be really interesting for a lot of people. So touch on how you got into Medicare, what you were doing before, and give us the rundown.
20 years in the business, it's hard to find a way to make it quick because there's been so much, but I'll do my best. Yes, I'm approaching my 20th year as a licensed agent. That day is coming up in mid-March or mid-April. I'm super excited about it because the very first goal I ever set in insurance was when I found out about CE credits, and that every 2 years you had to do CE credits, and it's different by every state. At the time in Texas, we had to do 30 hours, 15 of them classroom equivalent. The state has come to realize that we're at least as lazy as they are. So now we only have to do 24 hours with 12 being classroom. But I remember when I learned about that, being the C+ student that I was in high school, I saw the fine print below it, and it said, hey, if you can keep your continuing education perfect with a license for 20 consecutive years, you'll no longer have to do CE anymore. And the very first goal I ever set was like, that's me. I don't want to ever have to do the work again. So I'm going to do it for 20 damn years. Let's go. And looking back on it 20 years later, it's silly to be, that gives you an idea of how short-minded I was back then with what you can really accomplish in insurance. Like my first goal was like, I'm never going to do CE again. Let's go get them. But since then, like I've done just about everything there is to do in the Medicare space overall, but I got into insurance not through Medicare. I got into insurance selling cancer treatment products door to door as a captive agent for Family Heritage. Great product, got recruited into it through a warm market friend of mine that I'd worked with in the past doing outdoor sales. She thought I would be very good at it, called me up to see what I was doing at the time. I was doing absolutely nothing. And she said, well, here, go meet this guy. I want him to show you the sales and marketing opportunity. I think you'd be good at it. Lo and behold, it's a captive 1099 position to go bang on doors and sell cancer treatment products. So I signed up with them and did that for about 14 months, and I was terrible at it. I had to build bar stools at night just to make ends meet so I could actually pay my electric bill and eat a little bit of ramen and watch cable. About 14 months later, I met a guy in the Medicare space and talked to him, befriended him. He introduced me to the Medicare world, and I've been working with him or in Medicare since then. So for going on 19 years, and I've done everything from captive agent to home office marketing agent, where it was a great experience for me because I got to learn a lot about product design and development and distribution, like really learn how it moves, how Medicare products move from the carrier down through the FMO hierarchy distribution. That was super unique. Independent agent. And then the last 13 years before I started Avila, I was doing wholesale marketing at the very highest level, working with some of the biggest agencies, FMOs, and agents that are out there in the game. And then at the end of 22, I cashed all that in and decided to start my own IMO, where we're at now.
That's awesome.
See, that's why you need an introduction like that, Tony. That's a lot. That's big stuff. Cool. Sweet. And it's funny, I wasn't even expecting you to bring up the bar stools story, but it's funny you say that because I was doing a little background research and I found part of a Facebook post and it says, after 14 months of averaging 2 apps a week and building bar stools or running poker games to make ends meet, I met someone who actually wanted to train and mentor me. So what I wanted to ask, and you have the 8 levels of relationships, which I want to touch on as well, but I think this will be a good intersect into that. What happened there? Like, did something click? What did they tell you? Did they get you on the right track? How did that work?
No, it was just somebody that was honest. And I'm not saying that Family Heritage, and this is not anything against Family Heritage. They're a great company, great product, right? Great model for a lot of people. The group that I got recruited through that was representing Family Heritage wasn't the best fit for me. That just wasn't the right model for me. There were guys in that group that were killing it and doing great. So it wasn't anything bad on them. I want to be really clear about this. This is my inexperience, my lack of skill set, etc. So, but when I met someone that was actually willing to truthfully train me, right? And he actually showed me how to cultivate leads, how to explain the product, how do you really understand contracts and the entire nature of insurance and how it's distributed. So he was very transparent and really explaining and giving me a lot of food, so to speak, for the brain that I could use to really kind of find my own path. Whereas before, with zero insurance experience, all I knew how to do before was bang on doors and talk to people. All I got was a presentation book, a 2-day crash course on it. They pointed to the neighborhood and said, there's your money. Go get it. And they said, go do the deal. And after doing it terribly for a while, I realized, wow, I got to get closer to these guys and learn more from them because there's guys in this group that are killing it, right? 10, 12, 15 apps a week. I can barely put 2 together and keep them on the books longer than a month. What am I doing wrong? And I just didn't know what it was, and I wanted to find out. And unfortunately, I ran into that wall where the group that I was assigned to and working with weren't interested in helping. They were too busy doing their own business, right? They didn't want a guy to ride along with them. The recruiter was too busy recruiting to train the people he was recruiting. Like it was kind of a revolving door, masses of asses type of recruiting approach. So it just didn't fit for me because I needed more attention. I needed someone to take me on an appointment and show me how to run an appointment. Show me how to talk about the book because I still really don't know. I don't even understand most of the language that's in here. Like I wasn't very green and wet behind the ears, so it just wasn't the right space for me to be in, wasn't the right relationship. So when I met Josh, who showed me the Medicare space, it ultimately wasn't Medicare that made me successful, and it wasn't Family Heritage of why I was unsuccessful. It was the connection to the mentor that was changed the whole game. Josh was willing to spend time developing me. The other crew wasn't. They were like, well, either you're going to figure it out or we're going to go recruit 5 more people and one of them will figure it out. We don't care. We're going to get our money regardless. That was kind of how it was. But Josh was completely different. And he worked with me, taught me, and gave me opportunity and showed me the path and was very transparent about the whole thing. Didn't hide anything from me, which made it and empowered. So he empowered me to find my way, which for me as a freedom junkie, I was
Right.
very attracted to that. Right. And like, cool, this guy's going to teach me how to do the program and then just measure me by the results. And it's up to me to execute. I like that challenge. I can excel in that environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can totally relate. When I first started, I went through a similar experience, and my upline, I just didn't have any training. I was never shown like how did the sales process even worked. And so I spent so much time just like trying to figure it out and frustrated. And then finally I had somebody that actually like mentored me. And it's kind of crazy to like look back and see like that was kind of the changing point in my career too.
Absolutely. For a lot of people, it is. And it says, I hear this after 20 years, and especially working at the wholesale level, where I'm working directly with independent agents, agencies, and FMOs, like this conversation. If I could tell you the number of times that I had heard that, if I had a dollar for every, like it's that stupid cliche, if I had a dollar for every time I've heard this conversation, I would be rich. Well, you understand what I mean, but it's over and over. You hear that problem with the connection between the agent and the upline. And you see other agents that are killing it with that upline, but for some reason this guy isn't. Where is the breakdown? And it doesn't mean that either one of them are bad. It's just there's something wrong with the connection.
Right.
Whether it's the agent doesn't relate with the upline, or maybe the upline doesn't provide the right type of support for that agent, right? And this is especially true in an independent distribution area, because you'll find a lot of agents that think, hey, I want to be an independent business owner in the insurance world. And there's a really low barrier to entry when you get in the life and health space. Just go get your license and you're a business owner. But then, like, do you really know what it takes to build a business from scratch from there? And the number of independent agents that come into Medicare and think that they can start something with zero marketing budget from day one, like, bro, it's an uphill battle, man. Like you need to understand that you're starting a business. Like this is a different ballgame. So I see that problem in a lot of connections between uplines or FMOs or whatever language you want to put for that person above you, MGA, whatever it is, where that agent thinks that they're going to be able to go out and grow a true life and health business from scratch that way. It's usually just not the case, man. But it depends on who you align yourself with. Again, there are people that have that ability to show you that, invest in you, give you leads if necessary, etc. But a lot of times, if you're that brand new, like you need to spend some time in an environment that is cultivating all of the stuff that you really don't know how to do, and just teach you the sales and marketing aspects of things, how the activity works, how the people work, and then you can grow yourself into a true independent broker.
So I gotta ask, what was your journey to getting that title, the best networker?
I would say ultimately it was understanding. I mean, truthfully, to get that title was just understanding the nature of this business as truly being a relationship business. And also the understanding that John Maxwell taught us a long time ago, and not just to drop platitudes, but and if I always say it wrong, but your network is your net worth, or is it your net worth is your network? It's the same thing either way, but we understand what it means. Like, and I remember a long time ago, before the digital social media age and all the events and everything, when your network was a Rolodex that sat on your desk that you thumbed through, like guys would brag about how big their Rolodex was because they knew, like, this is where my money's at. It's in this Rolodex. I've got a huge Rolodex. I can find anybody to talk to about anything, anytime, anywhere, connect the dots and find money in that transaction, that relationship. As the game has changed now and Rolodexes are no longer on our desk, but they're in our Outlook's contact list or our Google contact list or our CRM or our social media following, whatever it is, it's the same concept. So how good can you build those connections to, maybe it's not the first connection, but it's the next one. Like I'm trying to get to that next guy, but I got to go through this guy to get there, kind of thing. And you understand those relationships and to build a network. Where I truly learned it from and didn't realize that I was learning that skill set was in high school, when I was just the gregarious joke teller that everybody got along with, right? But then later you're like, wait, that's a skill set that I can apply to developing relationships and building my network. And I think another part of it is just if you look back at the repetition of sales, because I've been doing sales pretty much since I turned 16 and got my first job. So everything that I've done has always been with me involved with interfacing and talking to another person, whether it's face-to-face or by phone. So when you think of thousands upon thousands of probably hundreds of thousands of engagements and repetitions and just introducing yourself to someone, it gets pretty easy just to walk up and be like, hey, I'm Tony, what's your name? And join the event. What do you do? Like, and just talking to people. And then you find out like, ooh, that's someone that I can create value with, whether it's to me or I know someone that you need to be talking to. And then boom, you can help make that connection. And somewhere maybe there's some value in there for you that you can extract, or that gets you another connection, right? And that's it's every time you see those little graphics of network, what do you see? You see all these little holes and links of where all these people move to, right, and connect. So that is incredibly valuable. And agents that don't take the time to do that, I really think are missing the boat on the larger scale of what their business can do for them.
I'm a firm believer, and I've said this since I got into insurance, which hasn't been an extremely long time, but in the very beginning, I started just telling myself, hey, one relationship can change your life. You're just one relationship away. So
yes, and I was wanting to further that because that's perfect. And I think Cody understood that about me when he promoted me that way, because when I very first met Cody, I was super impressed with who he was. I was super impressed with the things he had going on. He reminded me a little bit of who I used to be and kind of wanted to be when I've envisioned myself older, when I was much younger. And I was like, wow, that's kind of always the level that I was looking to play the game at, or some kind of game. Never knew, you never really know. But that was, he reminded me of when I was younger, the hunger, the fire, and some of the things that I had and was looking for. But anyway, I was impressed with him, and I wanted to develop a relationship with him. And the reason I wanted to develop a relationship with him because he had connections to a whole bunch of other people that I really needed relationships with, people where I could find money, people where I could develop distribution partnerships with, affiliate relationships with, people that I could recruit into my group because I had the biggest contracts in the world working as a top level wholesale marketer. So I can recruit anybody at that level. So Cody's got them all in a room. He's got my audience surrounded. So obviously I want to go in there and develop a relationship with him because he's the first direct connection to thousands or hundreds of relationships that I can access. So first thing, how do you build a relationship with somebody? You got to give them value, right? Don't approach like, hey man, you can help me make a lot of money. Be my friend. Like that doesn't work that way. So how can I provide value to Cody? I know what I can do. I can introduce him and his marketing and coaching concepts in the insurance world to one of the biggest distributors of insurance in the entire nation, AmeriLife, because that's where I worked and that's where most of my relationships existed. So I was able to introduce to him to some of the higher levels of AmeriLife to look at some of the things that he could do that could help them. So now that connection got made, and then he immediately calls me. He's like, hey, come up to Springfield, get on my podcast. Let's do another masterclass together that we did a private sales masterclass on and all kinds of stuff. And then the relationship has just grown and blossomed from there. And then he's seen me do it with other people. So he's like, yeah, Tony knows how to make connections.
So bringing value, what level is that in the 8 levels of relationships? Let's break this down. Okay.
It's every level. That's involved in every level. And it gets more important the further you get into those levels. 100%. Like at the very first level, the foundational one, it's hard for you to bring value. So the value that you have to bring is basically your work ethic and your attitude and your coachability, because the first level is how do we all get into insurance? Most of us, not all of us. Some of us are weird. Some of us wake up and go, I want to get into insurance. I can't wait. That is the sexiest industry out there. Most of us know we either answer a recruiting ad, someone introduces us to it, we find a way to get recruited into insurance, right? Some people even say they fell into insurance. So that's the first level. So at the first level, there's not much value you can bring other than the skill set that you brought to the table that first day, right? Most of the value is lopsided because it's going to be on the person that introduced you to the game to help take you, cultivate you, nurture you, teach you, coach you, mentor you, and push you. And then your job is to pretty much shut up and follow the system.
Yeah, I totally get that. Because when I first started, I remember I was so hungry. I was willing to do whatever. And I remember I signed up to like teach Medicare classes and work at booths at grocery stores and whatever I could, call leads. I was so hungry. And I remember some of the carriers kind of being like, okay, like I'll give you a shot, but they weren't like just like helping me out, you know? And so once they gave me a shot and they saw that like, wow, she really is hungry. She really does want this. She's selling, she's doing really good. Then it just like, it started opening up. But at first they were definitely like, let's see what you can do first. So
Yep. It's just like credit. If you get a credit card or some credit and you don't manage it well, you don't get that many letters in the mail trying to get you to sign up for credit cards. But if you prove to a credit company that you're really good at managing your credit, you can't stop the credit offers coming in. Same concept, right? And you can go back to the parable of the talents even, right? The person that's talented and works on them, they get more talent. So same thing is true. Like if you can prove to your carrier reps that you'll execute and you'll deliver business, they'll start throwing you co-op money. They'll start greasing your wheels. They'll start taking care of you. Absolutely.
So let's go level for level here. I'm not sure if anybody's ever asked you this, but I want to give perspective to a new agent. They're just getting started and they're understanding this concept at this point of I have to build relationships to get me to where I want to go. So in the first level, get introduced from it. So now that they're in it, right.
Yeah. First level is your upline, right? It's your upline mentor, your MGA, FMO, whatever nomenclature you want to attach, but it's the person that introduces you, right? And hopefully you've vetted a great upline to introduce you to this business, right? We've already talked about how it happens from often enough that that match is disconnected. So hopefully you find a great connection. And you'll know you find a great connection if everything that you can't bring to the table is being provided to you. Like every time I hear agents go, hey, I'm shopping for a new upline or a new FMO, or I'm getting into an insurance business, I know I have to get an FMO or something, like who do y'all recommend? Right. And then IMs and everything just blows up about all the shiny objects and how great we all are as recruiters and FMOs. I always respond the exact same way. I'm like, you need to stop and do a personal inventory of your skill set. What are you trying to accomplish? What are the skills that you can bring to the table to get there on your own? What are all the things that you can't bring to the table? Now find a broker, FMO, MGA, upline, mentor, whatever it is that fits that. And they can supplement those skill sets that you lack. That's what's going to get you successful. And as you grow in the business, that's going to change. You're not going to need as much from the FMO that provides everything. And you'll be able to maybe accrue more commission percentages because now you're weaning yourself off the teat, so to speak, right? Until you get to a point where you're like, hey, I need almost no support other than answer my phone calls and solve problems when I need them because I can do everything for myself, right? But it's hard for people to start that way. So, but ultimately, yeah, your upline is the first level. That's the foundational level. It's super important, right? The mentor's there to guide you and coax you and teach you. And your job is, like I said earlier, is pretty much keep your mouth shut, be coachable, ask good questions, and execute the process. I see a lot of agents that fall short on that. And these are your FMO hoppers, right? They're like, oh, I didn't get any support. I'm looking for another FMO. And then you're like, well, how many FMOs have you worked with in the past 5 years? 19. They all suck. I'm like, really? 19 times the FMO suck? You haven't thought to look in the mirror maybe a little? Just a little? So a lot of times that relationship does work that way, but that's the key for you is you have to execute on what they recommend you to do. They can't force you to drink the water. They're going to show you where it's at.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So that's level one.
Like I looked at like when I had people like, and I was recruiting and had a downline, and then I kind of switched more to the employee model because you would put so much energy in and it's like, then they wouldn't execute. And it's like, you can do everything except for make them do it. And so that was something that was definitely like frustrating on my side because you just don't have that like control to like get them to actually do it. So I think that's like a huge piece is if someone is coaching you or investing in you is to definitely like respect that time and like, do something with it.
Absolutely. 13 years of wholesale, I learned it all too well because my whole time I was wholesaling, I'm working with independent agents. Like this is a dude works out of his house, runs his own game. He's responsible to get himself out of bed. He's responsible to call his own leads. So I'd always tell him, like, look, I can provide just about everything you need, except there's one thing I can't do. I can't provide you motivation. I can't drive you to the appointment. I can't pick up the phone and call the people for you. And I can't sign your apps. Right. You have to do all that. But I can show you how to market. I can show you how to buy leads. I can show you where to buy leads. I can even co-op some of your leads. I can point you in all these directions and teach you the business. But you're the one that has to say, hey, Betty, this is John. How are you today?
Yeah, absolutely. You can lead a horse to water, but you definitely cannot Make them drink.
Yeah, but you can't waterboard it. So yeah, that's level one is the foundation. Level two, and a lot of people kind of overlook this, but what's the second thing that happens to you after you get introduced to the business?
A lot happens. What do you think, Ashley? Let's take a
They make you go get a license.
Oh,
So now you have to develop a relationship where with the state. And a lot of people don't really think about that relationship because it's so behind the scenes, but it's really not behind the scenes. I mean, you have to get a license to be able to conduct insurance. That you have a relationship with the state. They got you on file. They got your fingerprints. They know who you are. And some people already had a relationship with the state before they got to insurance, whatever. But nonetheless, that relationship has to be developed and managed. They tell you the rules of the game. This is how the game is going to be played. Right. You can't be fraudulent. You have to conduct insurance in these manners. You have to do CE credits every 2 years and show us that you're a professional. You have to follow these compliance rules. And if you don't, we're just going to take your opportunity away from you. We don't care because there's over 1 million of you guys out there and people knocking down this door every day. We're too busy filling out or approving insurance licenses for a bunch of fraudulent people already. We don't need you doing it too. So we'll just take it away from you. So you have to manage that relationship. You have to get those requirements done on time. You have to follow the rules of the game because they don't care, dude. They're like, this is like the most rigid, even though it's the least interactive level, it's the most rigid level because there is no room for exceptions. None. You don't follow the rules. You color outside the lines. We take away your crayons. Yeah. Period.
Yeah, I've never thought about it in that way. Getting licensed as a relationship.
Me neither.
So you have to conduct yourself professionally, right? And that is a relationship because ultimately the definition of relationship is just a connection between two entities. It's that simple. Whether that's two people, two businesses, a person and a business, whatever it might be. So you have a connection with the state. They are watching you. Right? You get complaints. They take away your opportunity. You conduct yourself fraudulently. They take it away from you. So you have to be a professional in the business and understand that there is a certain code of ethics that we are all measured by and should be behaving by.
Yeah.
What's the third thing that happens to you after you get into the business? You get a license. What happens next?
What's going on?
AHIP and you certify with the carriers or
contracts? Exactly. Contracts and carriers, right? And that's a whole nother set of relationships, especially if you're the independent side, because you might work with, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got 35 carriers in my portfolio. Those are all different relationships that I have to manage.
And I think that's a huge one that people neglect is like carrier relationships. Like I have had people tell me this plan with that carrier, it sucks or whatever. I'm not going to sell their plans. And it's like, it's just weird to me because I've always thought, you just want to be unbiased and you want to like be open to opportunity to work with anybody in any carrier. And so when you like shut off that relationship completely, what happens when they turn around and have the best plan 5 years from now and you have
you need some help for a sales event or something.
Or no relationship.
Right. Correct. And you take it a step further. Carrier reps move from company to company. So maybe you piss the guy off over at WellCare, for example, and then now he becomes your Humana rep, and he knows what a jerk you are. And then you call him up, you're like, hey, I'm looking for some AEP co-op. And he's like, who are you again? Sorry. Bad connection. I don't know who that is. Right? Yeah. So relationships are super important in this business because a lot of us are going to be around this game for a while. And especially when you're new, you think that it's so big, and it is, it's huge. There's millions of insurance agents. But the more successful you become at it, the longer you stay in it, the smaller that group of people gets. And you will see people that you've known for years in this business that have moved around maybe from one FMO to another, one position of authority to another. Mm-hmm. Maybe you were in a position of authority and then all of a sudden they decided, well, I don't want to be an independent agent anymore. I now want to be a carrier rep. And then now they're your rep. And you were a jerk to them when they were just a little peon insurance agent. And now they're like, I can act my revenge. No co-op dollars for you. No material. Sorry, forgot to file those material order. Whoops. Right? So all those are interesting. And it's huge at the carrier level because not only do you have that relationship point with the carrier, but you have all the different connection points that exist within the carrier. Right? So if we're talking about a big company like say United Healthcare or Humana or something like that, you have your local rep that you should be building a relationship with. All of you Medicare guys that might be watching this and you're selling Medicare Advantage plans and you don't know who your local carrier rep is, shame on you. You're hurting yourself and your business. You should be taking that guy to lunch and trying to get to know him and let him know that you're good. And hopefully he'll be buying lunch next time because he realizes how good you are. And he's giving you leads, or he's greasing your wheels, and he's creating events, and he's co-oping your business. But if you don't reach out and build that relationship, well, shame on you. But you have that person. You have the commissions team that you call to sometimes because maybe there's an error on your commissions. You talk to the licensing team because, whoops, I forgot to file my Kentucky non-resident with you, but I need to write a plan real quick. New business team. Like there's all these other little relationships at the carrier level. And as good as all of these carriers are at what they do, when you think about the volume of business that we as agents, a whole agent group, push through these companies, millions of applications, hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of applications on a regular basis. Stuff is going to happen. The law of large numbers says that something is going to happen eventually. An app is going to accidentally not get data entered. It's going to get data entered incorrectly. It's going to get data entered under a different code, and they pay the commissions to a different agent. Pardon my language, but shit just happens when you're dealing with that volume. So it's incumbent upon you as the agent, when it does happen, to deal with it professionally. Because if you pick up the phone and you call that rep, that technician in the commissions department, and you start screaming at them with a mouthful of abusive language because they suck at their job, things like that, guess what? They're just going to take away your crayons because you're coloring outside the lines again. It's the same thing. Carriers aren't going to tolerate that crap either. I don't care how much business you write. I've had to make that phone call to one of my agents. A carrier made a mistake on his commissions. He took it super personal, picked up the phone, started screaming at the rep with foul language. It's all on a recorded call because all the carrier calls are recorded, just like yours probably should be if you're a telesales guy. But he's calling and screaming. I'm the next person that gets called, and they're like, hey, look, we appreciate that your boy writes like 200 apps a year with us, but that doesn't mean we're going to tolerate this. Like if he calls and says any of that one more time, he's terminated. And not only are we going to terminate him, we'll probably do it for cause and just keep his money. So you need to call him and settle him down. So I had to call him and go, look, man, you can't talk to these people like that because they will terminate you and then I can't earn an override. And that sucks. So I need you to tone it down. And if you have a problem at the carrier level, just call me. Let me fix it for you. And then you just go write business, bro. And that's, again, good relationship skills because I realize that the relationship at the carrier point sucks, at least in his perspective. So let me be a good relationship person. Let me just take care of that for you. You keep going and writing 300 apps a year with that company. And I'll take care of this.
Yeah, those commissions
That's a real scenario.
Confusing. Like the statements with all like they're different with every carrier. And then I remember one year I had like it was like some kind of glitch or something, but they gave me like all of these chargebacks, and then they're like, sorry, it was just like a glitch. You'll see that we're gonna undo it. But it's like sometimes those are really hard to like make sense of.
Yeah. Especially in the Medicare Advantage world where they're giving you a prorated amount and then the true up comes in. So then they deduct a prorated amount and then they pay you the true up amount. And now you got like 5 line items when you're looking at it in your commission dashboard and you're like, goodness gracious. But, that's one of the things. So at some point, my agency block commission subscription is going to go up just because I have a bunch of carriers that like to give me 5 commission line items per policy instead of 1. Because agency block charges you based on the number of lines you have in your commission dashboard, which is fun. But little plug for agency block there. It's the best commission CRM out there. But there we go. Levels 1, 2, and 3, right? You're the upline, your mentor, the state, and then the company.
Cool. And I heard a wise man say that the first 4 are prerequisites to sell insurance. So this is making sense. Yeah. And the second 4, which we're only at 3, I'm keeping count, Tony. I'm trying to skate that. First 4 prerequisites. Second 4 is what separates someone who just makes a living to someone who does it. For real.
Absolutely. Someone who builds a legacy or someone who is really successful in this business, right? And creates a major opportunity. Yeah, the fourth one is the one that most people think of, like,
Yeah.
well, customers, I have to get customers. Like, well, yeah, you do, but you can't get customers until number one, you have someone that brings you in the business in some form, you get a license,
For
and
sure.
you get some contracts, right? So now we have our store set up, and so now we need to find customers. Obviously, that you have to have a great relationship with customers, or what happens? Well, you just don't have any customers. So you have to think about ways that you can grease that relationship with those people to keep them happy. Start by just doing the right thing by the client. As long as if every decision that you make in your business revolves around doing what is right for the client, regardless of the monetary penalty or the egg on the face it might be for you, you'll have a great business. But if you start arguing with the client on, well, no, this and that, you're right and I'm wrong, or whatever, you're wasting your time. Just do what's right, make the right decision, and move on. Think about this way: is it right for the client? Is it right for the insurance company? Is it right for the industry? If it is, then you should probably do it regardless of what it does for you, and just take your penalty and move on with whatever it is. That's the first thing: is start by doing what's right for the client. To take care of the client like it's your own grandmother. If you're in the Medicare space, man, do what's right for them is kind of what that says again. But give them good service and provide them good post service. Because Walt Disney said it to us. He said to do whatever it is that you do so well that your customers come back again and again and again and again, and they bring their friends and family with them. And that's what's beautiful about the Medicare space, because these people are a good tight-knit group in a lot of cases, right? Yeah. They're sitting there playing bridge, and they're talking about their Medicare benefits and their issues with them, I promise you. And they're talking about how great or bad their agent is, etc., and how tired they are of the Joe Namath commercials. So be so good at what you do that you create raving fans for your business. And they'll do a lot of marketing for you. You don't have to worry about it. Like, I've got one lady that everybody she sends me is the easiest lay down sale I've ever had in my life. They all want exactly what I don't have to argue with them. And I'm not going to, because she has what I consider probably the best healthcare on the planet: Medicare Supplement, dental, vision, and hearing, and a drug plan. So she's like, just call Tony, who'll give you what I have, and he'll remove all your problems. And they're like, great. Pick up the phone. I'm like, you want what Beverly had? No problem. Bing, bing,
yeah,
bing.
Those are good
Sale.
calls when you have a referral that calls and they're like, give me whatever John had or Mary had. Just give me whatever they had.
Yeah, just give me what. Yeah, exactly. Just whatever she has. She said it's the best. She told me that she doesn't pay anything or blah, blah, blah. Give me that. I'm like, all right, good. It's going to be about $426 for you. They're like, no problem. Sounds great. And you sign them up, whatever it is.
We like to call them super fans.
Yes, super fans, raving fans, whatever it is. 100%.
I had a lady that I helped out, and she was actually like a retiree from the school district. And so she had what's a para in Colorado, like retirement. And someone had signed her up on an Advantage plan. And when I had met with her, found out that she could get para, she was like, wow, nobody ever told me. I'm like, yeah, you could get the best plan. Like, you were there over 20 years. And so once I helped her out, like, she still refers me probably 6-7 people a year that I help out. And she's not even like a client, but I just helped her and did the right thing. And sometimes those people can be like the best like referral partners, because they're just like, you helped them, you did the right thing for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Having good retention or good relationships with your customers provides you social proof to 100%. Get more customers, right? Our business really started blowing up more when we really started putting a big focus on getting 5-star Google reviews. Like, we're at the point where we realize how important that metric is to get inbound attention, that we pay our agents a bonus when they get a 5-star review. Like, you want a little extra commission? Go get a 5-star review on your sale. And boom, there's another $50 or whatever it might be. And that's really helped, because that metric now, because we live in a digital world, that metric now, when people search for Medicare anywhere in my vicinity, now moves us further up the ladder, because we have a fair enough website with enough material on it that they're like, okay, there's a bunch of great data, but more importantly, holy crap, they got a bunch of 5-star reviews. And all this goes together. So Google recognizes the social proof, and they position you like you're the expert in the area. So create raving fans by doing the right thing up front, following up with them properly, And then you'll get more referrals and you'll get more social proof. And it just makes it
Yep.
easier to get new customers.
Yeah, the Google reviews, I think everybody knows about them and knows they're important, but for some reason I feel like it's still underrated. Like anything you look up, it's
100%.
you go to Google for one, that's where you're going to go, and it's Medicare agent near me, Medicare office near me. So it just makes sense to do your best to get to the top.
Yeah. From application submission to 90 days after the effective date, we touch that person 6 to 8 times. And every time we touch them, if we don't already have it, we ask for the review.
Yeah, that's big.
So we touch them that many times because Medicare needs a little more touch points, especially in the early days, to keep retention. That's the main desire. But we understand, like, hey, we can also insert the Google review every time we have that conversation until we get it. Eventually, we're going to get it.
When you say touch points, is that like, sending a thank you card, a phone call, email, just all those different things?
These are all phone calls.
All phone calls.
Yeah. Yeah. This doesn't include the emails and the thank you cards. This is phone calls. In what
period of time?
From app submission to roughly 90 days after effective date.
What are those? I'm just curious. Like,
and probably even more than that.
What are those calls like? What do those look like?
Yeah. So first app submission, we're already on the phone with them, right? So we're on the phone. We submit the app. They will get an automation of the app getting submitted through both text and email that says, hey, thanks, your application with such and such has been submitted. And it kind of gives them an outline of the next steps, which we probably already went with them verbally, but everybody learns different. So we're going to reinforce it again. This is what the next 30 days look like for you, right? And then it says, hey, if you liked our service, give us a review.
Yeah.
Right, in the automation. And she'll ask for it verbally when she submits the app. Hey, if I've done everything I can for you, Jose, do us a good favor, right? Reviews are really important to our business. If I send you the review link, can I get a review from you? And a lot of times we get it right there. If we don't get it there, the next phone call is the welcome call. So our service team calls them when the policy gets approved. Mm-hmm. Hey, John, it's Juliana over at Avila. Your policy with Humana has been approved. I got your member ID, yada, yada, yada. Any immediate questions? Hey, look, if you liked our service and you think other people should know about us, a review would really help. And in that same conversation, they're also getting an automated email that says, hey, welcome. Here's your policy number. Here, everything that she says on the phone is getting emailed to them with a link to the review. 15 days after that phone call, she calls it back again. Hey, it's us again. I wanted to, because on the welcome call, it's also, she explains that their packet's coming in the mail with their card and their enrollment, all their materials. So then she calls them 15 days later. Hey, it's us again. I wanted to follow up. Did your packet come in the mail like I told you it would? And they're like, yeah, I got it today. Here's my big Humana packet. I got everything. And they're like, cool. Do you have time to go through it, or have you already opened it up? And then in there, you'll find this and this, your flex card, your card, this. This is how you use that information. Oh, and by the way, if you think other people would appreciate our great service, can you please leave us a Google review? Yeah. I can send you the link right now. Another 15 days, she calls them. Now we're 30 days into the effective date. Hey, it's us again. Have you had a chance to use your policy yet? Have you had any problems when you used it? Most of the time in the first 30 days, it's no, but sometimes it's an immediate, yes, I've already used it. Maybe they've already gone to get their scripts refilled, or maybe they did have their first appointment with their doctor. But a lot of times that first one is, no, I haven't used it yet. I've got a doctor's appointment coming up and I got to go to the pharmacy and get my scripts. All right, cool. When are you going to do that? All right, I'll call you after that. And then we just move that call to basically that reminder date. And then we call them like, hey, how'd your doctor's appointment go? Did the plan work the way I told you it was going to? Yeah, it worked great. Right. I'm building up to positives. Now we switch gears, because usually we've already got a review by then, but now we'll switch gears and we start cross-marketing more.
Yeah, I was just about to say,
and now we're like, hey,
with that
let me insert new products. So first it's all love, 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 and then it's now let's get referrals and products.
I love it. I just got like a nugget I'm getting nuggets along the way, but that's really good. And it made me even think, like, you probably have really good retention in your agency.
It's improved greatly. Wow. It's improved greatly since we started implementing that process. The original idea wasn't to get more Facebook reviews. It was like to stop losing business, because our focus was the turning 65 market. And although when we first launched, we launched during AEP and just went out there like crazy and scooped up a bunch of AEP business to get the book going. And then we turned on our T65 pipeline and started marketing that way. But whether you write business during AEP or you write business during IEP, both of those people get 90 days to test drive your plan that you sold them and make sure they like it. Now, you might be super confident Johnny agent that thinks, oh, nobody's ever going to replace me. I'm awesome. And people can't market during OEP anyway. They're going to find a way to call your clients. I promise you, your clients are still getting called. They're still getting emailed. They're still getting stuff in the mail. They're still getting commercials. They're still getting marketed to, no matter how cool you are and the plan that you sold them is. So that next 90 days, when they have the option to be vulnerable to inbound marketing and get flipped, is when you have to step up your game and be retention, love, love, love. Here's everything that we're going to do for you. This is what it likes. This is what it looks like when you work with us, and you keep them locked in, because if you can make those initial phone calls every 15 to 30 days in that first 90 days, if there is a problem, you're going to find out about it. And now you can fix the problem, get their plan changed during OEP, and now they're locked in, and now you own them until AEP.
Yeah,
But if you get lazy, you might lose some business that way, and you will.
Yeah, I love that, because you're proactive. And it really too, like when you go through these plans, like T65 or later, when someone's going on an advantage or what, it's so much information, and they're just trying to like they get it in the moment and then they leave, and it's like, holy cow, I mean, it's just told me all these things. So I just love how you basically avoid any kind of frustration or anything where it's just like you're holding their hand while they make this transition. And it just makes people feel like they're in a good place, and
they feel cared about, they feel looked after, they feel like, man, I don't have to worry about this because those guys got it all under control. And when they feel that way, they're going to tell other people
they're my
about
agent.
Their bridge partner is going to be like, stupid agent screwed up my Medicare thing, blah blah blah, and they're like, oh, you should have an agent. My agent's fantastic. Right, my agent calls me for my birthday, he called me for Thanksgiving, he sent me a card. Like, they'll brag about you if they love you, but you have to give them love, you have to give them all that value, and it'll reciprocate. And that's true, because if people will feel like they owe that to you. If you've given them so much amazing service and love and attention, they feel the requirement of reciprocity to you in some way, to give you back some value. Absolutely. Right? Sometimes they'll be like, man, what do I owe you for this? Like, you've done something. Like, owe me nothing. Like, I'm going to get paid. Believe me, I'm good. But they're like, well, I got to send you some friends or whatever. And if they don't even have that, like, we've had such sweet people like bop in our office and she baked us some cookies because she's just so thankful of everything that we did. Or she comes over and introduces her family to us, or whatever it might be. We had somebody that came in with a bunch of fresh eggs from their chickens. Had a guy that had harvested all the peppers out of his yard. That was the same guy with the eggs, and gave them to us, a little egg basket and some fresh peppers out of his yard.
Ashley,
like, how cool is that?
Happen, right?
You know, you make an impression when they're going out of the way to do that. I think
Ashley just had that happen. It was like pumpkin pies or something like that.
Yeah, we had someone bring in pies on like Pie Day, and I think that's my favorite thing too, because I feel like, you know, our generation, I feel like people are still grateful, but like how much gratitude I feel like, you know, T65 and up, like they show is just like, they're just so warm, and they'll write like actual letters, or the Google reviews. I'm sure you see it. Sometimes it'll be like 3 paragraphs and you're like, oh my God. So,
little lengthy there, Grandpa, but thank you. Absolutely, man. It's a beautiful market to serve. It does require a little more touch and love, but man, if you do it and you do it right, you do it, you know, efficiently, you're going to reap such great rewards.
Absolutely.
Right. But yeah, the first 4 levels, man, if you can't have an upline, you can't get a license, you can't get contracts, you can't get customers, you can't call yourself an insurance agent.
Definitely can't.
That's my opinion. Because you haven't done all 4 things that are required. I mean, you have to get a license to be an insurance agent, sure. But if you don't have any products to sell, well, then you're not acting like an insurance agent. And then even if you get a product to sell, like, until you write a piece of business and earn a commission, you still haven't completed the transaction, the cycle. And I love those agents. They're like, look at my appointment list. Look how big it is. These are all the companies that I could write business with if I wanted to. Like, look how big it is. Like, that's 72 companies on there. I'm killing it. it.
Okay. All right, Tony. So teach me how to scale, man. Teach me how to leave a legacy on the industry. Where do I go from here?
Yeah.
Not 5.
The difference is, the difference is in the next 4. These are all extracurricular things for the most part. And if you learn how to develop relationships in here, you can develop a much bigger vision for your business, if you will. The first one is an easy one, really. And it's also usually comes somewhat naturally, and that's vendors. But when I say vendors, like everybody thinks, oh, I got to go buy leads. I'm not talking about lead vendors. I'm not talking just about lead vendors. And yes, you probably should go buy some leads. But I'm talking about anybody involved in your business that you have to cut a check to as a cost of doing business. That could be your lead vendor that you buy leads from. It could be maybe a marketing company that you buy marketing services from. It could be the landlord for the building that you're renting. It could be your CPA that helps you with your taxes. It could be your lawyer that helps you draw up contracts or stay out of trouble. Like all those people are vendors that you're paying to get service from, right? So you're paying them. That's value. So how do you get more value out of them versus just the service? The easiest way, and we actually just talked about it, is when they do something for you. Give them a 5-star Google review. Don't wait for them to go above and beyond and shock you. Just if they give you the service that you paid for, come behind them, give them a 5-star review. If you can refer somebody to them, try to do that. Push on some more love and value to them. They're going to feel the power of reciprocation, and they will remember you more when it comes time for them to think about, how do I help that guy better? Because he's in my face all the time, right? I'll give you a great example. I'm really good friends with Chris Weir at Lead Concepts. He's the owner over there. I don't have to just talk to a technician. I get to talk to Chris because I've gone out of my way to develop a relationship with Chris. The first couple of times we did business together, boom, 5-star Google review. Boom, 5-star Facebook review. Recommended it to somebody, right? Bought more product from him because it was working. Told his technician, thank you, man. I really appreciate your help. You've done a lot for me. And they did kind of go above and beyond too, because he really helped me out on some of my first campaigns when I launched this business. But they were super instrumental, and I went above and beyond to make sure that they understood how appreciative I was by showing it somewhat publicly where other people could see me edifying Lead Concepts as a company to work with. Next thing I know, Chris is down here and he drives down to Austin, takes me to lunch, hangs out with me, hooks me up on some more stuff, introduces me to more people, makes me more connections, etc. So if you can learn to grease the wheels in your relationships that you have with your vendors, you can get some value back pretty easily. And a lot of times they can connect you with other people that can really, truly help you grow your business. Even if it just comes down to the simple level of service. Guess how quick the phone gets answered when I call Lead Concepts? And I don't spend that much money. There's people that spend buku dollars with them more than me. I'm small time when it comes to account level and status, but I'm the loudest guy about them publicly as a great service provider. So when I call them, dude, my phone gets answered. If I call Chris on the mobile phone, it gets answered. If I email them, it gets response. So I've greased that wheel, so now it's efficient. Yeah. My business runs better.
Yeah.
My business runs better with less problems because they care about me, right? And again, those vendors can lead to one of the other levels that we'll get to, but that's a great connection. Like, don't just look at your vendors as service providers, and if they don't do good service, well, you're out. Like, no. Occasionally they're going to screw up. Call them out on it. Do it professionally. Fix it. Fix that relationship if you can, if it's fixable. And it'll get grease on it again. But grease the ones that work at least at the right way for you, and you'll find them working even better for you. And you can grow your business faster. You're going to get things done more efficiently.
That's such good advice.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, one of the best ways to get, in this case, vendors' attention that I found is sending referrals, like you had said. Send referrals, and
send them referrals,
they will definitely respond to you. That's for sure.
100%. Anytime you can give someone value and put money in their pocket, they feel a requirement of reciprocation. I gave one of my competitors a referral once. This is when I was in wholesale because I didn't have access to the Blue Cross contract. I think it was Tennessee at the time. Wasn't one of the products that I was worried about, whatever. But I knew who had it, and I knew he was even though he's my competitor, he's in the wholesale space recruiting the same type of agents I am. I knew he was a reputable, cool guy that I could trust to do the right thing by the agent, and most likely even do the right thing by me sending an agent to him to not cut me. I felt confident enough, and it was at least worth the test. If I'm wrong, I'm going to find out pretty quick. So I knew that this guy could get it. So it was Mike Newton. He's still an awesome dude in the business. And I said, hey, it's like, you're looking for Blue Cross Tennessee. I don't have it. And I appreciate you want to keep working with me, but this isn't one I've got. But you can go get it from Mike Newton. He's a great dude. Just give him a call. Gave him Mike's contact info, called Mike, signed the contract, probably still writing business with Mike today. And then I get a card from Mike with like a $50 Starbucks gift card on, or not even, I think it was just a Visa gift card. I'm like, oh, and handwritten and everything. So like he felt required to reciprocate. I didn't call him and tell him. I just told this dude, call Mike, tell him Tony told you to call him because we know each other and he'll take great care of you. Mike sent me a $50 card, called me up later and thanked me, posted something on Facebook about what an awesome dude I am because I'm cool enough to share with competitors even. And it's my attention. Actually, I got a lot of attention out of that whole post and that whole connection. That was awesome. So little things like that, like don't be afraid to do that stuff for your business. That if you go to the next level, which is level, what are we on, 6? And this isn't, I wouldn't say it's an overlooked one, but sometimes it is because I think agents get afraid and they just get in their bubble and they stay comfortable. Level 6 is the colleagues, your colleagues, other people in the industry, people that are going through the same exact struggles, challenges, and successes and failures that you are. Why would you not want to build a relationship with people that are on the same wheel and struggle as you are, that are running a similar or same race as you are? There's so many reasons why. Whether you take the Godfather approach of keep your friends close and your enemies closer, or you're really just trying to build great networks of people you can learn from, right? Because I have the ability to call my buddy Justin Brock, who is light years ahead of me in this business, and pick his brain because we have a relationship that is good. We don't stab each other in the back. We don't talk shit about each other. I can call him and be like, hey, man, I'm trying to solve this problem in my business. Has this ever happened to you? How do you approach it? And he's like, yeah, dude, this and this, piece of cake. Or he would refer me someone that he thinks I would do better at working with than maybe him. Or just like I referred that guy to Mike Newton, right? That's how that works. But your colleagues can give you hands up in the business sometimes because they've learned something that you haven't figured out yet. Right? They can collectively mastermind with you. You can find referral partnerships within your group of colleagues. Maybe you find someone that's not interested in Medicare, but you're pals and he likes ACA and you're like, I don't really like ACA. Let's work together and develop something bigger. Maybe it's even more diverse than that. Like me and Joe Camper. Joe is a PNC aggregator. I can't even spell PNC. But we realize that, hey, there's a synergy if we collaborate, that we can create something for the industry that's going to help get us the attention that we want, because attention is currency in this business. So we realize that, hey, we can put our heads together and build a community that'll get us more attention and therefore more business.
I think.
So what are all the different ways you can connect with your colleagues, learn from, and collaborate with?
Yeah, that's something I'm so excited about because I'm in a smaller town. There's like 60,000 people and maybe like, I don't know how many Medicare agents. There's not like quite a bit that do it full time. And so this podcast, and then we're going to go to Medicarians and Medicare Con, I think it is. My first time going to something like that. So I'm excited to like meet other people that do Medicare, learn from them. And I'm just super excited about doing that step. So I'm a baby at that step, but that's my next one.
Well, I look forward to seeing you at Medicare Con. I won't be at Medicarians this year, but I will be at Medicare Con. So I'll definitely see you there, and I'll be excited to see that. But yeah, and events are, obviously a great place to meet your colleagues, right? Is through events. And I'm not just saying that from the whole idea of like, oh, you got to get in the room to learn the information, even though that is true, because you got to get in the room if you want to get the information. But ultimately, you should be getting in the room to meet other people that are doing better than you. Because if you constantly just surround yourself with people in rooms where you're always the smartest person, you're not growing anywhere. The only time that is not true is if it's poker. If you're in a poker table, you want to be the smartest person. But if it's not a poker table, you don't want to be the smartest guy in the room unless you're the one doing all the educating and they're paying you for it. That's it. Otherwise, you should be surrounding yourself with people that are ahead of the curve than you so that you can always be learning and you have something to look up to and model for. So, and getting in the room is a great way to do that. But then it's also just a way to build collaborative partnerships, friends in the industry, people you can bounce shit off of. Because I can't call my buddy in banking and bitch about ABC in this industry. He's just going to be like, can we go get a beer or something? And I was like, yeah, great. But if I can call my buddy in Florida, Sarasota, Florida, Brad Hannon, and be like, hey, man, this business sometimes. And he's like, I know, dude. I know, man. I was just dealing with this too. And we can rant and rave, and then he can help me wipe my bloody nose and encourage me and send me back out to battle. Like those relationships are invaluable, and so many people overlook them. And again, not to go back to some of the beginning of this conversation where we were kind of picking on uplines, but I will say that if you are an agent and you see an event that you want to go to and your upline says don't go because they're probably just going to try to recruit you, There is a possibility you're picking the wrong event that is a recruiting event, but those are pretty few and far between nowadays. It's pretty blatantly obvious to find that event that is really just a recruiting mechanism. A lot of the events that are out there, like Medicare Con, like Medicarians, like Invictus, the Spanish Conference, they're networking events with a ton of value coming from stage. It's not people getting on stage and giving you their value proposition to recruit you and convince you to come join their team. It's people that are like, hey, these are the changes coming to Medicare that you're going to be affected by, and here's what we're doing to adopt. Here's how we're using technology in our business. Here's how we're writing Facebook ads. Here's how we're doing the sales approach. Here's how we're bundling products. It's things like that that you can learn from, number one. But then number two, you get to surround yourself with all the people in the industry that you can learn from. So if you have an upline that is telling you, don't go to that event, they're just going to try to recruit you, you probably should question that upline. Maybe they're not giving you a value proposition that's big enough that they feel confident enough that they can put you in front of competitors and you're 100%. Still going to be loyal.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Hey,
maybe
only the paranoid survive.
I noticed this is a weird off topic, but it's the same concept. I noticed this in martial arts because I've been doing martial arts for like 12 years. One of my teachers was like, don't go practice with those guys in the park.
Why not?
Because you're going to find out that I don't have any skill that I'm trying to teach you. Is really why. That's the truth. He's like, they're just gonna beat you up and make fun of you and stuff like that. He's like, you don't want to go play with them. And then I'm like, what's the first thing I did? I went out to the park and it's like, all right, let's touch hands, let's go. And then I find out, I was like, he's right. He actually does have skill, but he doesn't have as much skill as these guys have. And this is where I can really develop mine. And so I started hanging out in the park and I quit going to his school.
So what's the best place to learn in the martial arts world? Is it going to classes, or
it's learning from someone that has skill, truthfully, and is willing to demonstrate that skill on you? So I've had other teachers that claim and show me medals and show me newspaper cutouts about how badass they were, but they wouldn't ever let me put my hands on them. They wouldn't demonstrate. They wouldn't let me touch them. They wouldn't touch me, like none of that. All they would do is watch me and practice with other students. And I'm like, that's fishy. That's a little weird.
If I realize, like, if he's as good at karate as he is at Medicare, this could be real.
This could end bad for me. I might be needing Medicare at the end of this altercation. I don't know. But it's weird how that same thought process exists in both of those worlds. Of the teacher doesn't believe in himself enough to allow the student to be faced with competition because he's afraid he'll lose his student.
I think just being open and transparent about, how everything works. And then it's like, I'm always excited for the day that like someone in my downline surpasses me, or moves past me. I mean, it's like, in this world, life's too short and there's plenty for everybody out there, and you're going to make your own path, whatever it is. And so let's just be happy for everyone and the things that they achieve. It doesn't make sense to be trying to hold people back, because I had that happen to me actually, because I was told a goal, and if I hit that goal, then I would be able to move my contract or whatever. And I had hit it, but then the person that was above me wasn't able to level theirs up. And so I kept getting this like push down. And then, finally they worked it out. I'm still with the same upline. So I think there's something to also be said about, I don't know, loyalty. Like I feel like I'm a very loyal person, but it's like sometimes having that relationship and then going through something like that can make things stronger too. But that was definitely
absolutely, especially if that relationship has a breakdown, but then you work together to correct it.
Exactly.
That relationship is much stronger going forward, right? It's no longer a broken relationship. It's a relationship that's now stronger because it got broken and got fixed, and now we're closer, right? And we're working together better as partners. We understand each other better, and we can keep moving forward in a much better direction. 100%. And then you said something else that is at the crux of this whole thing about your colleagues and getting in those rooms and being surrounded by all the other people in the business. You said that there's enough for all of us. And it's true, especially in the Medicare world, but in all of them, truthfully. And it's very simple math to figure it out. Right now, we have about 64 million people on Medicare, if I remember correctly. By the time we get to the year 2030, there's going to be 80 million people on Medicare. Wow. That's 80 million potential customers for you. Now, as an agent, You're never going to get all 80 million of them, number one. So just understand that fact already. And nor do you need to, because if you can do some very basic math, you will realize that you only need 5/1000ths of 1% to make $1 million. I'll say that again. There's 80 million beneficiaries. If you can capture 0.005 of the total market, that's 5/1000ths of 1%.
Wow.
You'll make $1 million. And not just once, you'll make $1 million every year. You can keep that 0.005% on the books. So for agents to bicker, like, I can't talk to them and share them, what I do for Facebook ads that works, because they'll steal my marketplace. There's 80 million people out there. You ain't getting all of them, and neither is he or her or him or the other person. The amount of business that is out there, there's no reason for us as agents to bicker with one another. If an agent wants to look at it, if you're an independent agent or a small independent agency, right? And there's another independent agency down the road, or an independent agent, and you view that guy as your hardcore competitor and you don't want to talk to him, engage with him, share with them, keep him away, you're missing the point. And it's not just because the Godfather idea of keep your enemies close, or your friends close, enemies closer. It's that you guys, there's a whole long-term relationship there that could develop into something bigger, may not, but you two guys collectively can fight our real competitor, which are the institutional companies that are coming into the health and Medicare space. And they're the ones with the real clout to take your market share. Amazon's, Google's, Walmart's. That's your competitor. Your other independent agents is your brotherhood to fight those people off. And if we continue down the road we've been doing in Medicare, CMS is this close to taking away our crayons.
Yeah.
They're about to take away our crayons. Why do you think we have the regulation we have? It's because we haven't been playing well with others, and we have had a shitty client onboarding experience. If we can start playing well as a collective group of independent agents and business owners, and we can improve our client onboarding experience, they will regulate our competitors instead of us. So quit having that scarcity mindset that you can't be a friend to the independent agent down the street and let him occasionally have a referral from you or pick up a piece of business in your same neighborhood, because it doesn't matter. There's millions of people and you're never going to get them anyway. I run a telesales shop in Spanish. I love pulling leads out of the Valley of Texas, where you can't walk 100 feet before seeing a Spanish Medicare sign from an insurance agent. There are so many Hispanic insurance agents in the Valley of Texas. It is nuts. Everywhere. They're thick as thieves. And I pull telesales leads out of there every day. Why? Because the market is so big. It's so abundant. It doesn't matter. Quit bickering with your scarcity mindset. Get an abundant mindset, because this is an abundant marketplace. Collaborate with your brotherhood of agents and move on to your legacy, man. Because that's where that's where the 7th level relationship comes to. And that's when it blossoms, and that's strategic partnerships. That's when you take those vendors that you've been working with. That's when you take those colleagues that you've met in the industry, and you start to develop a even bigger relationship that amounts to a much larger growth opportunity. Ultimately, a strategic partner is a person that talks to the same or serves the same audience you do, but in a non-competitive environment, right? Like a Medicare agent partnering up with the value-based care clinic to do Medicare workshops or things like that, or just as a referral mechanism back to each other. Like a Medicare agent becoming really good partners with a chiropractor that accepts Medicare Advantage plans, where original Medicare doesn't accept chiropractic or doesn't offer chiropractic. Now, if you find the dude that accepts Medicare Advantage plans as a chiropractor, and you have people that you talk to that need help with chiropractic, you can well, here, let me help you get the right plan, and I'll introduce you to John. He's lights out, great chiropractic. And then John has people that comes in and they're like, well, I have United Healthcare. And he's like, well, I don't take United Healthcare, but I do take Humana. And if you need it, my friend over there, Ashley, can get you fixed up. Starting to create those strategic partnerships. If you're the Medicare Supplement annuity guide, you like to do financial seminars and Medicare seminars of that nature, talk to an Ed Jones guy, or maybe you're the Medicare guy, but you want to talk to an Ed Jones guy to bring those two pieces together, right? Whatever it might be, who are the people in the industry that you can collaborate with to develop something together, because two heads are better than one, that you can both benefit and grow your business bigger. So strategic partnerships are huge in this industry, and most people are afraid to make them because they feel like in my opinion, they feel like they're giving up some control of something, or they're allowing someone else to have control. But no, it's just the opposite. You're just giving someone the ability to refer stuff to you in some cases. I mean, in some cases, strategic partnerships get much bigger than that. I never thought that Joe and I would be in the same office, since he's P&C, trucking P&C, not even Hispanic marketing. Like, he's talking to English speaking people selling trucking insurance. I'm talking to Spanish speaking people selling Medicare. Like, how the hell do those two businesses mesh? Well, they don't. But what we know is what we love about the industry, which is developing a community. So we were able to create a community through a Facebook group that now has close to 8,000 members. And now we have a podcast channel. We own a media company together, and we're doing all these other things. Like, strategic partnerships can go in some weird directions. And if you're too afraid to make some, you're missing a giant level that could take you from being a six-figure agent to now being an eight-figure exiter. Like, what are you trying to, but again, and I'm not saying that's, maybe you don't want to build an eight-figure business that you exit on a big cash. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying these are the things that you can do if you want to. So don't feel like if you don't go build strategic partnerships that I think you're a bad agent. No, you're just, that's not the game that you want to play. That's okay. For the longest time, I only wanted to be the agent that worked 4 days a week and played golf on Friday. And I was that agent, and I made six figures, and I was good at it. And then eventually I was like, nah, I want some more now.
Yeah,
so how can you go create more in strategic partnerships? Big way.
There's definitely a point, I feel like, in like me growing my agency too, in like the past 7 years, where you're growing, and then you kind of start to plateau because you can only do so much on your own before like you need those strategic partnerships to be able to take your business to the next level. And I always joke with people because they're like, some of these partnerships are like, well, I don't want to tell so-and-so what I do for marketing or this or that. And I'm like, we're all doing like everybody, it's all basic marketing. The only difference between me and someone else is that I'm doing it. So it's not that it's like I'm doing something that's like genius. I'm just actually doing it. So it's like,
I'm just actually doing
no secret.
I'm not talking about doing it. That's so true. I'm not talking about doing it. I'm doing it. There's a big difference there. So, but yeah, I'm big on strategic partnerships because I feel like they can really vault your business. And that could be acquisitions. That's another way to view that, like going in and partnering someone, you're buying their book or buying their agency to grow your EBITDA, whatever all those little things are. But even if you're just an independent agent out there hustling Medicare, like, have you talked to any chiropractors, dentists, or Ed Jones guys, or ACA guys, or life insurance guys that sell final expense? They're all talking to the same people you are. Why don't you have a relationship with those guys? There's so many angles there that you can develop more referrals or more money or more commissions without increasing your real activity output.
100%.
True.
Think smarter, not harder.
Wow. So was that level 7 or was that 8?
That was level
like
7.
I'm on level 11.
That was level 7. So we got last one. We got the last one, which is the easiest one. Not the easiest, but that's where duplication occurs, and it's where everything turns around full circle, and that's downline. And when I say downline, I'm always saying that that's just the technical industry term. Don't refer to your people as your downline. They should be your business partners. If you ever introduce someone like, yeah, this is Rob, he's in my downline, I'm going to make a lot of overrides. Like, don't treat your people like, hey, this is Rob, it's my new business partner working with us over here. Like, well, treat them like that. But when you start developing a downline, because you've gotten to a level that you can now prove, you have proof that you're good at what you do. You know how to write business, close business, and create that process. If you want to grow, again, you only have a finite amount of time and energy as a single individual. So why not share that opportunity and get somebody in your group that you can mentor and grow and earn some overrides off of and train them, right? And again, do you have to? No. If you want to be an individual agent, you don't want to, nothing wrong with that. There's space for you in this business. I was that guy. But if you do realize that, hey, I have the ability to provide opportunity to other people that would be interested and good at this business, I feel like it's kind of selfish of me not 100%. To.
When should an agent start looking at scaling in that way, growing in that way?
Some of it's going to depend on where you're coming from. So if you're an individual agent, you're working by yourself, you need to go get some proof of work for a little while. I've heard a lot of agents throw out metrics like 3 years or 1,000 apps or whatever. I would say probably somewhere around 500 to 1,000 apps. And 1,000 is probably a little smarter. Somewhere around that is pretty good. Time doesn't matter because I can be in the business for 3 years and I've written one app and I still have no
Right.
business
Yeah, you need
mentoring or
experience.
coaching anybody. But I would say 1,000 apps is pretty good. Like once you realize that, hey, I can step away from my business and I'm making 6 figures whether I show up or not, that's a pretty damn good indicator that if you want to blossom to the next level, it's going to be really hard to do it by yourself. Like if you want to increase your income, like you're already running 1,000 app book, like that gets really hard as an individual agent. At minimum, you're looking at hiring a service person, much less another sales agent, because managing 1,000 app book is not easy to do in Medicare. Like that's an intense workload. So if you want to grow, if you're looking to increase your revenue, you're going to have to do it through people, through personnel.
100%.
So, but I would say when you firmly believe that as an independent business owner, you can prove that, hey, my income is beating my expenses and I'm killing it. I'm doing well. I don't have to be number one, but I've got proof of work and I know I want to grow this. So let me go find some friends that want to work with me and look for the same opportunity. The other time, the reason I mentioned it depends on where you come from. If you work inside of a culture that is a very close-knit agency culture, then if it's me, honestly, I would start recruiting day one. And I know some people are going to go, what? No, he's crazy. And I said recruiting, not training. If there's a guy in that culture that is the head trainer and he's damn good at it, then you should be recruiting people to put in front of him on day one if the culture allows you to do it. Because all you have to do is go, man, I'm having fun. This is great. I don't know everything there is about it, but I think you'd probably be good at it. You should talk to my buddy Kevin. He can explain it to you, right? If you're looking for opportunity, I need to put you in front of Kevin because he can explain it. All I can tell you is that I made $1,900 in cash deposits last week. And you knew me, Becky. I was broke. Like now I'm doing good. Like I'm social proof, Becky. Go talk to Kevin. Let's get you in this. Right. And then let Kevin, all you have to do is edify Kevin or whoever it is and let that guy recruit him and close them into the agency, put them on your team, and maybe you're getting a little override or a spiff or something like that. But I would say if that's the kind of culture that you've tied yourself into, you should be recruiting immediately, not training, recruiting.
Yeah, big difference.
There's a difference.
Gotcha.
So what's next for you, Tony?
Next is we have a goal to grow this very large. The idea is that if you're Hispanic or Spanish language, or Hispanic, and you think Medicare, you think Avila. That is the idea, and actually even ultimately past that is ultimately if you're Hispanic and you think insurance, you think Avila, because we have a PNC expansion that is planned on the calendar probably next year, maybe 2 years at most. But we want to continue to grow the brand. That's the whole thing, because our vision includes building this business to the level that we can affect change internationally. Wow. So I'm by myself. My parents are gone. My brother and sister are fine. They're all well taken care of. I don't have any children. My wife and I don't have any children. It's just the two of us, and we're doing okay. And my wife's an immigrant from Colombia. She's been there for about 20 years now, close to. But all of her family lives back in Colombia. And they do all right for the most part. A couple of them got degrees and they got a fairly good job and living, and they're doing okay. But even a good living there is still not that good a living, right? Yeah. Let's be honest. It's tough. And she wants to help elevate their situation. And she knows, and I of course know, that insurance is a vehicle that can do that. Yeah. So our goal is to build something that is an 8-figure business that we could probably exit. Like that's kind of the goal, is to build an 8-figure business, exit, and use that to basically start a nonprofit company, which we've already kind of got laid out the blueprint of it. But we're going to start a nonprofit company that affects change for underprivileged women and children. Wow. Pretty simple. So kids that can't get the shoes that they need to go to the school, they can't get the school supplies they need, whatever it might be, right? Or safety, shelter, things like that. Like we want to impact the difference in that group of people, especially in impoverished countries. And then ultimately is just to bring her family out of any kind of poverty level and set them up where they, for at least a generation or two, like they don't have too much to worry about.
Yeah, insurance can definitely get you there.
So that's the big goal. Yeah, insurance is the vehicle. And I was talking about this Wednesday, that's yesterday on our show, where you don't have to be passionate. And this is what my partner Joe said. He said, you don't have to be passionate about insurance. You just have to understand that insurance is the vehicle that can drive you towards your passions. And if you can really understand that and realize that, then you can become passionate about insurance. because you know it's the
Yeah.
vehicle that gets you there.
Yeah, 100%. If you're passionate enough about your goals, then how you get there, as long as it's manageable, it's however you can get there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, once you realize that it's just this is a
Yeah.
means to get to an end, and this is probably the fastest means to get there.
Definitely
Truthfully,
is.
if you're any good or you execute, it's not even that hard. Like insurance is great, especially in the health insurance side where the renewals are so phenomenal because you can suck at it and you're still eventually going to make a lot of money. You're just going to have to suck for a little longer than the other guys. That's all. But if you can get really good at it and learn to scale and learn to build relationships through your business that you can elevate things at a faster rate, the dude, it's done. I've been in this business 20 years. It never ceases to amaze me because I feel like I've seen everything. But the number of guys that I've seen grow something from 0 to 8-figure exits in 5 to 10 years is out of control.
Wow.
And it can be done faster and faster now because of technology. When I got into the business, no, because everything was paper. Everything was paper, faxing apps around, perforated pages, right? I can't digitally market and reach the whole nation. My only option was cold. Like I can sell in other states, but I can still, all I can do is buy data, pick up a phone and call. Well, that's no different than just getting the data in your local home county and calling. But now with the digitization of everything, I can run an ad on Facebook and touch the entire nation if I want and sell in any state that I want. And I can generate leads at a much more scalable method. And now it's just how fast can I grow that and plug people in to meet it, right? And you look at a guy like Josh Lustig, who's probably going to sell at some point for some sick 8-figure. The dude's only 27 years old.
Wow.
He's 27. He got into the business at 24. And he's probably going to sell soon because I know him pretty well for a pretty hefty 8 figures.
Wow.
Because he learned one thing, and he learned, hey, if I can get really good at writing Medicare Supplement apps by phone and create a system that I can teach to other people, then I can duplicate myself super fast. I can get out of the field, and then I can create something that other people would envy and want to give me money for. And that's exactly what he did.
Wow.
It's the fastest person I've ever seen grow something like that, and I've seen some pretty fast ones. But what he's done in 3 years is absolutely astonishing.
Yeah.
We'll have to get him on here.
Yeah, we'll have to get him here. And I wanted to dive into Facebook ads and marketing and sales, but we've been running for a while.
Sure.
So we'll have
we've
to
been
get
long.
back.
We're an hour and a half. I appreciate this.
I know I have 2 questions and then you can summarize them too. I wanted to know about the Facebook advertising marketing. And then also we just got our first bilingual agent because that's a big need where we're at too in Western Colorado. And we would have a lot of people that spoke Spanish and we weren't able to help them. And so how did you kind of get into that market, or do you have is it any different, or do you have any advice when starting out in the Spanish market of anything that might work too?
It is different because it's a whole different language. Like they have a different word for everything. Like it's nuts. Like it's not even like hat is sombrero. Like everything is different. Being facetious, I'm sorry. I can't help myself. It is different. And not just from that regards. It's a different culture. The way they think is a little bit different. The way they make decisions is different. The way they refer people is different. And that's what I love about the Spanish culture. If you take really good care of one of them, it's almost like they send one out as a gopher, like, hey, go see if that's any good. And then when they prove, like, yeah, there's value over it, next thing you know, they're all in your office. He's like, hey, it's me tío, mi abuelita, mi primo, mi prima. We all need health insurance. Like, help us all. It's awesome like that. But it is a little different. It's also a little different, especially in the Medicare space, on the adoption rate of technology. Seniors in general are later to the adoption curve of technology, but I really feel like the Hispanic, and more specifically the Spanish-speaking population, is a little behind that curve too. I'm not really sure why, but based on how I see them interact with technology on that side versus how I see it on the English-speaking side, they seem like they're just slightly behind the adoption curve of technology, but they're picking it up quick. Because they all got smartphones, they're all on WhatsApp, talking to each other and everybody else. But you have to think about that culture and how they view life. Like, if I can remember the exact stat, I believe it was 83%. I might be a little off, but if I'm off, I ain't by much. And this came from my United Healthcare rep. I think it's 83% of seniors that are 65 and up and speak Spanish or are Hispanic live with their children. So it's a very close-knit, family-oriented culture, right?
Right.
It's not like us Americans where they kick you out of the house at 18 and then you don't ever get let back in, or vice versa, right? And we send them off to like, no, just put mom in the nursing home. Who cares? Right? I'm going to play golf. Like, it's not like our culture where we're very removed and we want independence and space from each other. Like, they're very close, very tight knit, and they care about that. That's super important to them. So when you talk about subjects like insurance that have an effect on your family's security, they're very sensitive to that, right? They're a little more sensitive to it. They are still, for the most part, especially, and that's that they're still very traditional. The husband-wife roles are still very traditional. He's the provider. She's the caretaker. Like, all of that is real traditional. So when you're talking to them about different insurance products, understand that and have that tonality and that positioning in your language and your phrasing when you're talking to them, if that makes sense, right? So like cross-marketing, I'll just give you a tip. If you're cross-marketing your first product after Medicare Advantage, if you're cross-marketing the man of the house, and this is probably even true in English culture, but especially true in Spanish, if you're cross-marketing the man of the house, cross-market final expense and hit him where it hurts. Because why do people buy final expense? Because they want to be a good provider.
Right.
They don't want to leave their family with that burden. To the wife, cross-market cancer insurance all day. Huge concern for her. Huge concern for her. He's like, cancer, whatever. Put some whiskey and some tequila on it, I'll be fine. But you hit him with something like, hey, do you want your kids to pick up the bill when you die? He's like, no, he doesn't want to do that. No father, and especially an Hispanic father, does not want to do that to his family. So they're very, that language and that understanding, that perspective can help you position your products properly to them. They're a heck of a fun culture. And that's how we've kind of built our business. You had asked me what made us decide to get in that culture, and it's a few. Number one, I got forced into it, or not culture, but that business. I got forced into it because my wife is Colombian. And in 2020, during COVID, she was not an insurance agent. She never wanted to get into insurance. I never tried to recruit my wife into insurance. We've been married since 2014. I've never once, ever, I promise you, said, hey, why don't you get into insurance? I think you would do good. I just did my insurance game. She was a Spanish immersion teacher, very good at it. And then COVID happened and her school gets shut down. She gets basically fired. They said let go, but they said, but we're letting you go, but we don't know when we can bring you back. I think that's called fired, is really what that boils down to. So she's fired. All of her friends are fired. The news on the media is telling her that 25 million people are out of work in 2020. But then she's trapped in a room with me all day because Austin's on lockdown. And she's like, so 25 million people are out of work. I'm out of work. All my friends are out of work. But Tony and all of his little insurance buddies, they're all still making money. As a matter of fact, he's busier than I've ever seen him. And after about 6 to 8 weeks of that, she taps me on the shoulder. She's like, all right, fine. I want to get my insurance license. And I'm like, okay. And I wasn't sure how serious she was. Like, is this just, I'm going to go get my insurance license and I'm going to write a couple apps here and there and make a little extra change for my purse and some independence? Or like, do you want to do something big? And I was at least smart enough to ask her that question because my wife had a very skewed view of insurance, because her only introduction to insurance, other than the guy you buy your car insurance from over the phone, was meeting guys like John Wetmore, guys like Cody Askins, guys like Justin Brock, Galen Hendricks, superstar level people in the business. So she had a skewed view. She's like, I guess you get a license and you're rich. I guess it's, can I do that in Spanish? It sounds great. And so we were all like, it's not that easy, but there's work. But she kind of had a skewed view of it in the sense that, not that she thought truthfully that you just get a license, you become rich, but she understood like, whoa, insurance is a place that I can achieve all of that, right? So her eyes were open immediately to the true big opportunity that sits behind insurance that a lot of people really don't get to experience or understand or even know about, because that information is hidden behind a wall that nobody else wants them to see. That there is a way that you can build a business, that you can build a legacy, that you can build a vehicle that helps you affect change internationally across borders and lift families out of poverty and provide generations with no monetary worry for the 3, 4, 5, my kids kind of thing. Like, that is a real opportunity that exists in this world. So she saw that immediately. So when I asked her, I'm like, so is this just something to do for purse money, or do you want to do something big? She's like, well, I want to be one of those couples that's on stage at the events. I'm like, okay, you want to do something big. I got you. So we started talking about what that looks like. And we were trapped in our house during COVID. We couldn't go anywhere in Austin. So every day I'm working in the office, my home office. And then every day, and she would just sit there and listen to me on the phone doing my thing. And then we would take a break and we would go brainstorm what her vision looked like until we knew exactly what her vision was. And that's how we came up with the Vila. That's how we came up with the whole idea, the concept. And then after that, we got her license going. And then I spent that time doing those laps, training her on Medicare until Austin lockdown turned off. And then she kind of got fed to the wolves for a little while. But she worked by herself on the business for the most part for the first 2 years. I worked part-time because I was wholesaling the rest of the time. So I just kind of looked in on the backside, made sure some of the administration was taken care of, made sure that her leads were paid for, things like that. She busted her ass and worked 6 days a week, bell to bell, getting it going. And I never asked her to do any of that. I never told her that was what was required. She chose all of that on her own. The only thing that I did was after I trained her, got her contracted, and bought her some leads, I took her out in the field and I trained her how to run an appointment. And then I trained her how to sell by phone. And I said, which one of those do you want to do? Do you want to go out in the field and meet people face to face? You want to sell by phone? Because I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. And the only reason I need to know is that so I can buy the right leads, because they don't necessarily cross over. It's like, so just can you give me that little bit and then you can do whatever you want after that? She's like, I want to sell by phone. I'm like, perfect. Great answer, by the way. And then so I taught her how to start and strengthen selling by phone. So the next thing I made her do was I gave her a list of 1,000 names. I said, here's a compliant cold call script for Medicare. Good luck. Call all those people, say that. And then I warned her, I'm like, you're not going to sell anything, but that's not the purpose of this list. The purpose of this list is for you to cut your teeth so that when my expensive leads come back in, you can actually sell them. And then she actually sold some stuff off that cold call list. And I was like blown away. And it was funny because it was a Saturday. I was hanging out with another friend of mine in the business eating some lunch. I get back to the home office. She's like, hey, I made my first sale. I'm like, what did you sell? She's like, well, I sold 2 cancer products and a dental plan. Like, I didn't even teach you how to sell any of that. I taught you how to sell Medicare Advantage and Med Subs. Like, you don't even have any scripting for that. What are you talking about? I'm like, how did you do that? She's like, well, they asked for it, and I knew I had access to it, and I knew where to look. And so I just figured it out.
That's so cool.
Made to be in insurance.
And I was like, how cool is that? And that's a skill set that a lot of agents, I think, undervalue or just don't even bring to the table or understand as resourcefulness.
Yeah.
The ability to connect those dots and be like, hey, I know that I'm calling on Medicare, but this person is asking me about this. I know I have it. Where do I go get the answers and do my best to be the expert? And if I don't have the answers, at least be willing to say, I don't have it yet. Just give me a few minutes or give me a couple hours. I know where the answer is. I just got to go get it. And I'll call you right back.
Yeah.
Or I'll call you Tuesday and I'll set it up or whatever I got to do. But be that, show your clients that you are that resourceful person. So that was the first reason that we got in the Spanish market. And the second is just the math, right? The second is the math. Right now, the Spanish market makes up 4% of all Medicare beneficiaries. It's going to triple in 6 years. It's the fastest growing segment of Medicare. It's the fastest growing segment of ACA. It's probably the fastest growing segment of P&C and life insurance. So the math is there. That the opportunity is there faster than any of the other markets, in my opinion. And then the final, blatantly, there's less competition. I'm in a blue ocean by myself. Are there Spanish agents selling Medicare? Of course there are. Down in the valley, I just got through telling you can't walk 20 paces without tripping over 2 of them. Go to Miami-Dade County, there's a bunch. Go to areas of Tampa, you'll find a bunch. Go to San Diego, you'll find them. El Paso, Texas, San Antonio. But these guys are all working on a very, no offense to any of you if you're watching this, on a very small-minded, my own backyard scale. I'm only working in my own backyard. And they're overlooking that there are Hispanic, Spanish-speaking beneficiaries coast to coast, top to bottom, all across this nation that need help and don't have anybody to help them because they're in rural Kentucky or rural Indiana, and the only person that sells Medicare is somebody that can't speak a lick of Spanish. And granted, they can call UHC and get the translator on there and get it all worked. I have a friend that does that. That's her whole market, is to call people that speak different languages and abuse the UHC translator and she writes a ton of United Healthcare business through that. But why aren't you, like, what's wrong with you picking a model that says, no, I'm going to do it different? I'm not going to assume that every Hispanic or Spanish speaking Medicare beneficiary isn't intelligent enough or patient enough to handle a phone call to do business with me and just work in my own backyard. I'm going to touch the whole nation and make sure that they all know that I'm the number one resource for bilingual help in Medicare. And I'm going to advertise myself in that way, and I'm going to market in the way that's going to generate that type of lead for me, because it's a type of lead that I want, that I will close. And it works like a charm. This is another reason why I said the adoption rate thing. I'm experiencing lead cost on Facebook that guys used to brag about 15 years ago and now bitch about because they can't repeat that lead cost. So I'm getting T65 Spanish speaking Medicare leads on Facebook with a phenomenally filled out form. I know how many tax credits they have. I know what their birth date is. I know their email, their phone, whether they actually qualify for Medicare or not. I'm generating for about $650 a piece, and we're closing them at about a 30% clip easily. If not, we'll probably close them better than that, because a lot of these people are still 9 months away from actually even qualifying for Medicare, right? And that's the key to marketing the T65s, is you got to market out far enough that you can get ahead of everybody, understanding that I'm not going to collect until it's going to be a little while. A lot of agents can't handle that pipeline, but you have to buckle down if you really want to do it in this business and start marketing 6 months before you can collect. Makes it tough for a guy to come in with no marketing budget in this game and do well.
Wait 6 months? Yeah.
Right. You're 6 to 9 months of nothing but expenses before you can get your first person that actually gets you a commission when you're marketing, in my opinion, to the turning 65 market. And that's what we do. Everything we do is to a T65, speak Spanish, about to qualify for Medicare, somewhere in the 3 to 9 month range. They're in that kind of sliding territory. And we bring them in, we coach them, we educate them, help them make that whole transition. And then we smother them with love for 90 days, and then we go for the rest of their family after that. There are some great agents out there in the Hispanic space that are doing phenomenal things, but most of them are doing it on a smaller level. And again, not knocking it. Raul Parga in El Paso has El Paso dominated. He's killing it. Can't argue with his model. He's crushing El Paso. He owns El Paso. No problem. Right? But I don't want to go move into El Paso and compete with Raul Parga. I want to compete with him on a different level. He's working with all the people that want to go meet Raul Parga and hang out with him face to face and do business that way. I'm looking for the people that don't want an agent in their home. They don't want to go somewhere if they have to meet someone. That is like, man, I'm tired of seeing these commercials. I'm tired of all this mail. Who can I call to make it all stop? Oh, let me call the number one resource for help on bilingual Medicare. And I get this done, I can get back to my life in the quinceañera.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's kind of my take on it, and this, if that helps a lot. So that was the two reasons why I got in. I was forced in because my wife speaks Spanish and wanted to start an agency, and then number two, that's where the math is at. The math said, go over here. Why? And I didn't have any desire to recreate an agent. I was in wholesale. I was killing it. I was doing great. Had a great name for myself. I was very successful. I had no desire to go back out in the field in any sort and restart a new agency. Lo and behold, I'm not going to tell her no, especially when she shows me for 2 years what she's willing to do. And then I'm like, okay, if I don't get behind her now and propel this thing further with what I can bring to the table, again, pardon my language, I'm kind of an asshole at that point. Like, not only am I going to regret it, but I'm starting to become kind of a jerk if I don't realize that I need to get in there and push with both hands too. So I jumped in. We've grown it a lot this last year. We got some pretty big goals this year, and just super excited, man. I love this business. I love it.
Me too.
A lot of times when I think about this business, I almost break down because I know where I was before I found this business. And it's impacted me so much. And that's what's going full circle back to the beginning of the show. It's why I don't mind taking time out of my day to do what I can to give back, because this industry's given me everything that I have.
Absolutely. I feel like most people who have big goals and do something big in this industry, they have that foundation where, you know, they didn't really know if they could be anything or do anything or get anywhere. And the first level of relationships, someone shows you an opportunity and you take it to the moon. So that's what we're all trying to do here. And hopefully the people watching, newer agents, even veteran agents, that you realize what's possible. And throughout this episode especially, there wasn't any times that we spelled out what to do. Like, hey, this is what you do. But if you're paying attention, you can watch this episode and run for the next 10 years and you'll do all right. You'll do all right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, let's come back and do a Facebook class or something. I'm on. Anytime you guys need help, just give me a holler.
Yeah,
I'm happy
absolutely.
to help.
Ashley would be perfect for that. She's the expert in the field, and if you guys need some funny jokes,
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, right on. Well, man, I'm looking forward to seeing y'all at Medicare Con. You both gonna be there?
Yeah. We'll have our whole team there, the whole Medicare
Excellent.
Masterclass team. So you'll meet everybody.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to meeting all of y'all. Myself, my wife, and one of our teammates will be up there. I have a newer guy I want to bring and expose him to all of it because he's still sitting behind that wall. He doesn't understand yet, even though we kind of tell him, like, dude, we can do some really big things in this business. It's up to you. So I'm going to go expose him to all that and watch his mind get blown.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. And just, it's good for development and just open them up to it and help them understand, like, dude, the difference between you and this is you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. So,
yeah,
good stuff. So,
absolutely.
thank y'all again.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah. Hit me up anytime. I know Rob and I are already connected on Facebook. I sent you a friend request not too long ago before this show started. But if I can ever with anything, man, just hit me up. I'm easy to catch on Facebook. Just that little instant messenger thing. Plug me if I got time. And I always have time at some point to circle back around. I'm happy to assist. Anything I can.
Thank you.
Well, that's that, ladies and gentlemen. Tony Merwin, thank you. It was a pleasure. This has been phenomenal. I want to tell you a little bit more about Medicare Masterclass. Medicare Masterclass is a training platform specifically for agents who want to sell more Medicare. And it's built by a Medicare agent named Ashley Van Gundy, who consistently writes over 150 policies per month, even outside of AEP. So I'm going to say that again. Over 150 policies per month, even outside of AEP. And she doesn't run a massive team. She has a really great sales process and her marketing is dialed in. So what does Medicare Masterclass include? Exactly how to do that and much more. So you have the 7-step talk path to show you exactly what to say. And then you'll also have lead generation mastery to show you how to dial in your marketing and have more leads than minutes in the day. So if you want to sell more Medicare, this is the best training available on the market. To enroll, go to MedicareMasterclass.com.